Here we are at Wynnstay's trial plots, just on the outskirts of Weston Park on the Shropshire-Staffordshire border. We're going to be looking at all the different varieties that you're likely to be considering for sowing this coming autumn. We're now looking at Bazooka, which is a 6-row hybrid barley, and possibly the pick of the 6-row hybrid barleys. It's the highest yielding barley on the recommended list. It's got a yield advantage over the 2-row varieties of about 6%, 5 or 6%. As you can see, it's quite a tall variety, there's a lot of straw to it. It's actually quite stiff in the straw. It's unlikely to fall over like the old 6 rows used to. That height of straw is quite useful in suppressing grass weeds, particularly blackgrass. This has developed into a very popular crop where blackgrass is a big issue because it simply gets above a lot of the blackgrass and reduces the seed return to the soil. So with all hybrids, it creates a greater root mass, so the place to perhaps get the best from them are in drought-prone situations, second or third cereals, anything that's sort of considered slightly marginal. The hybrids will tend to make the best of those conditions. The specific weight is good. The screening losses or the thin grains are very much reduced with Bazooka. This is a step forward over volume, which was the market leading hybrid for quite a few years. So if you're looking for a hybrid, Bazooka would be the way to go. It is expensive. The hybrids are always going to be more expensive. Syngenta actually dropped the price by about £100 a bag last year, so it's becoming a lot more realistic proposition for more people. Still not gone mad in this area, but it's seen as a useful way. If you're going to grow barley, you want to get the best out of it, and the hybrids certainly are the best yield potential on farm. It's got to be grown to Syngenta's protocol, so low seed rate, only 200 seeds per square metre. You've got to get that nitrogen on early, but that seems to benefit all barley varieties now, that early applied nitrogen. But that's essential if you're going to grow these. You have to feed that early vigorous growth, and you have to maintain the tiller numbers from that low plant population. But if you do that, you'll get a top performance out of Bazooka, and I think it's well worth considering. Right, we're now into 2-row feed barley varieties, and starting with the 2 varieties which were newly recommended this last year. So we've got Allwell, KWS Allwell and Surge. We'll start with Surge because it offers a completely different set of genetics to all the other barley varieties we've got. The popular 2-row barley varieties at the moment, KWS dominate, and they have done for very good reason and produced some very good varieties. But they're all based on saffron and cassia genetics, so they're all a bit weak on mildew and they're all a bit weak on rinco. Surge is from Syngenta, it's from a completely different breeding programme, and as such offers a real improvement in mildew resistance particularly, but also this one has the best rinco resistance of the 2-row feed varieties. It's actually the highest yielding barley, the highest yielding 2-row in the eastern region, and it's the second highest yielding in the western region. There's only Allwell beats it by a small percentage. So right up there with the very top yield ratings. Its grain quality is good, it's got a large grain like Tower, but it also packs well together. It gives a very good specific weight, better than Tower. So Tower's our favourite variety, or most popular variety at the moment. We think Surge is a very, very useful variety to grow alongside one of the KWS varieties. It's only available in a limited way this time. It's only available, I'm pleased to say, it's only available through Wynnstay. We've got all the seed of Surge, but I think, and I don't think I'm saying this just for that reason, I think it's the pick of the 2-row feed varieties and offers a completely new set of genetics. KWS Allwell is the highest yielding of the KWS varieties. It's actually a Tower cross, so it's got quite stiff straw. It's the stiffest straw on the recommended list. And it's a decent variety. There's very little seed available this time, so I don't think you'll be considering it as one to sow for this year. But if you've got a very fertile situation, this is the stiffest variety available. Its mildew resistance is getting better, but it's still a bit of a weakness compared to certainly Surge and some of the other varieties from other breeders. So we're now looking at 2 popular 2-row feed varieties. Tower is particularly popular. It's our best selling variety at the moment, and that's mainly due to the fact it produces a nice bold grain which people like to see in this part of the world. It's also one of the stiffest strawed varieties. It does have inherent weaknesses in mildew resistance, and its ringco resistance is certainly a bit better than Cassia, but it's not brilliant. But it's developed into a very popular variety. It's a saffron cross. Saffron always did well in this part of the world, but saffron is a Cassia cross, and Cassia is in most of the KWS varieties that we've got at the moment. Compare that to Infinity. Infinity is a Cassia crossed with Retriever, so you're getting hopefully the best attributes of Cassia, but you're getting the Retriever genetics just to improve the yield potential a little bit. But Retriever also brings with it slightly weaker straw and slightly poorer grain quality. So this is a smaller grain. It's got a higher yield potential. It's one of the top yielding varieties, but it sort of brings with it that little bit of baggage. The other thing we've found with Infinity is it has brackled a little bit in these last couple of seasons, and I think that's possibly, again, maybe down to the Retriever genetics. So useful variety, fairly popular, not as popular as Tower. Tower's just got that edge on its grain quality or size of grain, and the standing ability. The weather's taken a little bit of a turn for the worse, but we'll plough on. The two final feed barley varieties that we need to talk about are Cassia and Glacia. Cassia really set the scene. It followed on from saffron and has been a very, very popular barley. It still occupies around 20% of the non-hybrid barley acreage, so still a very significant barley. And it's got a very loyal following, principally because it's got very stiff straw, or pretty stiff straw, and it's got very bold grain. It's still got the boldest grain on the recommended list, and that's what people like in a barley variety. We know it's weak on ringco. It always has been. It's weak on mildew. It needs managing. It needs looking after, but it's still got a loyal following and won't disappear off people's list too quickly. Glacia is a Cassia cross. It's like Infinity. It's a Cassia crossed with Retriever. That Retriever brings a slightly higher yield. It's got 3% more yield than Cassia, but it also brings slightly weaker straw and not as good a grain quality, or not as bold a grain. And it has this tendency to brackle a little bit like Infinity. Glacia and Infinity are very, very similar. They're the same cross. They have very similar characteristics. So Glacia, very popular in the east. It's actually the highest yielding barley on if you just look at the heavy ground situation. If you look at heavier soil types, it's the highest yielding variety. But for us, Tower's more popular, and Cassia still maintains a good loyal following.